Hello and welcome to the Tournament Center. I'm Ian Duke, and with me is Pro Tour Return to Ravnica Top 8 competitor Eduardo Sajgalik.
Hi.
Eduardo, tell us a little bit about yourself and what deck you brought today.
Sure. So I live in the UK, and I tend to just like globetrotting around. It's good fun. So today I brought mono red to the table. Kind of almost an admission of defeat in a way, but also because I thought if anybody else is going to do interesting things, I might as well punish them for it.
I like that.
That's a good way to do it.
All right, so we just saw a lot of mono red in the feature match area. I'm really curious to see what your take on it looks like.
Sure.
And as we all know, mono red is a deck about its early drop. So let's start with your one-drop creatures, shall we?
Sure.
Let's take a look at Foundry Street Denizen. Now come over here and tell the audience about this.
So Foundry Street Denizen is incredibly interesting because this used to be the best one-drop in the deck by miles. And as the tournament's progressing, I'm actually trying to think if I should have reconsidered it. It's really good. It's the most damage you can get out of your one-drops potentially. But that 1 point of toughness when everyone's playing Satyr Wayfinder can be kind of tough. So with Satyr Wayfinder being everywhere, it might be worth thinking about the card, but it still deals a lot of damage. And I wanted it to be on the side that, dealt the most damage as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that, being proactive. So tell us next about Monastery Swift Spear.
That second point of toughness, you gotta love it. It's great. So the thing with the Monastery Swift Spear is it might not look like the second point of toughness is important, but it just allows you to go through. For example, if that Courser of Prefix, like being able to attack with Swift Spear and play something as small as a Wild Slash means you get to kill Courser. And because you have that ability, they have to respect it and they don't block. So this creature, just the prowess on like a one-drop with haste is very powerful.
Yeah, so even just the threat of the prowess is actually pretty powerful then.
Yeah, while Foundry Street Denizen, you might reconsider with like how the standard format is. I would know this is the best one-drop by miles.
So this is auto-include
by
here?
miles.
Okay, great. Next up, we have Zurgo Bellstriker. This is a 2/2 for 1 mana, but you're only playing 3 copies. How come?
There's like this little line here that it's a bit awkward. I mean, my first match, I actually played the Mono Red Mirror. So like he does an attack where I am forced to actually kill the Zurgo, and he plays a second one, so I feel a bit sheepish. But that kind of proves why you don't want that many Zurgos. You have already tons of great one-drops, and even a 2/2 for 2, you have to keep into account that it is legendary. You have other options. I think if you didn't have access to these one-drops, then yeah, sure, maybe you'd have to go up to 4, but 3 is the ideal number for me.
And how often is the dash ability relevant here? Do you find yourself dashing
It's really
often?
good. Like I had a game where I had another card you'll see, Goblin Heel Cutter and Zurgo, so I was able to do 5 damage out of nowhere, which was
awesome.
quite nice. Yeah.
And last up, another creature with dash, we have Lightning Berserker here. You mentioned before, this is not really a one-drop, it's more like an X-drop, is that right?
Yeah, this ability here, if it wasn't for Satyr Wayfinder, this card, I would play 3 copies of this card, not even close. The thing with Lightning Berserker is you get to pump all your mana into it, so you're outputting a lot more damage per card, and it's one of the best cards to follow up a sweeper with, because you essentially dome them for 4, and they're in a very difficult position to follow up. It's okay as a 1-drop against certain decks. You can play it on turn 1. Just if you have no 2-drop, or if you don't want to play a 2-drop, you can always attack for 1, pump it for 2, deal 3 damage, and that's quite good.
Love it.
Right.
So those are your 1-drops and your X-drop, as it were.
Yeah.
Let's come over here and take a look at the higher drops in your deck. And
Dragon
by higher,
Fodder.
I mean 2.
Right. So interestingly, my teammates aren't playing Dragon Fodder. So the reason I ended up playing Dragon Fodder was because I felt there was actually going to be quite a bit of red, and the ability to make 2/1/1s against cards like Foundry Street Denizen, or even against Satyr Wayfinder is good. Like you can push through damage. It interacts incredibly well with 2 of your 1-drops. Foundry Street, it pumps it by 2. With Monastery Swift Spirit, it pumps it by 1. So I really liked it, and a card that we're going to see later is Stoke the Flames. You need creatures to convoke it. It's one of the most powerful red burn spells of all time, and this is kind of. It's not a card I love, it's more something you need.
Yeah, kind of like a synergy card with the rest of your deck. Yeah, that's great. Tell us about Eidolon of the Great Revel. You only have 2 copies here, right?
Well, okay, I have 2, but here's the thing. Like, in your 75, like I consider Dex as part of like being a 75. So I would say that you can play a variety of Eidolons of the Great Revel, but you're playing 4 in your 75. You may choose to put 2, 3, or 4 in your main deck, or even 1 or 0, but you're playing 4 in your 75. We played 2. We felt there's going to be a lot of rally around the room.
Okay.
And like a lot of the decks interact at 2 free mana, and this punishes them nicely. But you want access to 4. Like I played as my 5th and 6th 2-drop to help with the curve.
Excellent. But on the other hand, you're starting the 4 Rabble Masters right off the bat, right?
Oh, the Rabble Master. I mean, I love this card. Like I know it's gone down a lot in value recently, but this punishes bad draws the most out of any standard card by miles. If they stumble, the game ends the second you go Rabble Master.
Yep.
And it's a really good free drop to pull out. I love it. Other people choose Hordling Outburst. But yeah.
Okay. And talk to the audience at home about Goblin Heel Cutter.
Oh, right. I think this card is underplayed because it's a common. Don't let that fool you. This is really good. Like, but don't get fooled by the mana cost. You're mostly dashing it. So the purpose of Heel Cutter is they play, say, Corsair Crewfix, which is a very common turn-free play. And you went 1-drop, 2-drop. They play Corsair. You don't have a burn spell for it. That's okay. You go Goblin Heel Cutter. Dome them for
nice. So just going right past those big green blockers.
Much more interesting now, this gets through Hangerback Walker. You're going to need this card.
Excellent. So that's your creature suite. Let's take a look at your burn.
Yeah.
So coming over here, we'll start with Wild Slash.
Yeah, so yeah, tons of burn. I love it here. So Wild Slash, some of the mono red builds in the past have played a few less, but in this format you have to play 4. Just Jace Vryn's Prodigy is a good reason to play 4 of that card.
Yeah.
The fact that even Control decks are playing 0/2s for 2 mana means that you want access to this card. It's the cheapest burn spell. Like, Shock is incredible right now.
Right, as I understand it, it's the 1 mana that's super important about this card.
Exactly.
Is that right?
I mean, Lightning Strike, 3 damage is good. Like, this tends to be the card that you dome your opponent for. There's not many creatures you can kill with Lightning Strike that you couldn't with Wild Slash. I think Felice Main Lion is one of the main ones, but you still want a critical mass of burn, so you play Lightning Strike.
Absolutely.
Stoke the Flames is an insane card. I love it. So, like, having 4 damage in one card is really good, and the fact that say you're stuck on 2 lands, the fact that you can go 2 mountains, like say you have to top deck burn to win the game, you can just stay back on defense and then like just block, stoke for 4, and then hope to get like say your last land to cast this card.
Okay.
Which is another 4 damage burn spell. A card that I like to have access to 4 copies in my 75. 2 in the main deck, simply because of the spell mastery against control. A lot of the control decks board in duresses and negates. They're going to play duress early on, but if you can get them to 4, they have to respect that this card is in your deck and it's a real problem.
Yep.
Searing Blood, there's 1 in the main deck, but honestly, with the way the field has been positioned, I would like more. So if you're going to play the red deck, I would recommend more. Again, Jace exists, and being able to just burn a creature and dome them for free while attacking is just incredible.
So looking at your burn suite for a moment, the first 3 here you have 4 of copies. Are those negotiable at all in your opinion, or are those the automatic includes here?
I'd say Stoke, Wild Slash, yes. Lightning Strike, probably. Just because of the critical mass issue.
Okay.
But the thing is, I play 4 copies of all of these cards in my 75.
Oh, okay.
I have access to all 20.
So these last 2 here, your main deck numbers are just a metagame choice,
Yeah,
rather.
it's
and you can
metagame
swap in from your
choice, mana
sideboard?
cost, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay, great. That sounds awesome. And your mana base is super simple.
This is the best part of the deck by far.
All your lands come into play untapped.
I still managed to mana screw, but that's fine.
Yeah.
At least I know 20 mountains, best mana base in standard.
Did
by
you ever
far.
consider any colorless producing lands like Foundry of the Consoles or anything along those lines?
So if you played a big red deck, so like I've seen some of the decks with Flamewake Phoenix and Chandra, and they're really going on the top, then you could play it if you had 22, 23 lands. But with 20 mountains, playing Foundry is a little dicey. Okay. I liked it when there was Mutavault in the format. There, it would have been worth it.
Oh, for sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, well, there you have it. This is Eduardo Sajgalik's take on Mono Red.
Yeah.
I'm Ian Duke, signing off from the Tournament Center.